Hi, my name is Amanda Pratt with Imagine Life Therapy. Today I'm going to talk to you about 3 ways that you can manage your symptoms better if you have a chronic illness. One of the things that clients often ask me is, I'm having a really hard time managing my symptoms. How can I manage them better? There are 3 main things that I talk to people about at the very beginning of symptom management skills training. Stress management. I just recently did a blog post and video about the importance of stress management. So if you're not sure why it's important, go ahead and watch that video first or after this video. But when it comes to managing symptoms, managing your stress can be one of the best ways and most effective ways to manage them. And the reason for this is because stress is usually closely related with disease. It can lay the foundation for your disease to thrive, meaning your symptoms could be worse if your stress is higher. The other is that the way that stress affects the body prevents it from being able to heal properly. So your symptoms might be more exacerbated or exaggerated if you're under a lot of stress, and you may think that it's the disease getting worse, but really it's the stress making it worse. So these are some good things to explore if your symptoms are difficult to manage. The second thing is you want to self-monitor. So track your symptoms. A lot of times I'll introduce certain apps to my clients, or I'll give them a sheet that they can write it down by hand, or I encourage them to journal each day. You want to track your mood. You want to track your top 3 symptoms that are causing you the most distress. So when I was first diagnosed and at the most difficult times of my illness, my top 3 were brain fog, fatigue, and chronic pain. So I tracked those 3 in an app called My Symptom Tracker, I think it's called. It actually graphs it for you, and it allows you to rate that symptom, and it gives it a color. So for example, if I scored my fatigue as a 10 one day, it would show up as red on the calendar. So I could look at the month as a whole and see how many red days I had for each symptom, or for my symptoms in general. And that allowed me to go into my doctor and say, hey, I had a rough month this month because I had 15 days where I was a 7 or higher in my top 3 symptoms. And that actually gave them data that allowed them to make effective decisions in terms of my treatment. So this is something I always recommend to people. The other benefit of tracking your symptoms is that you can start to learn what triggers them or makes them worse, and you can start to find things that will make them better or less intense. And if you are working with a therapist or your doctor, you're implementing new treatments, you can start to see and have data on whether or not that treatment is actually working. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but if you track it every day and you look at your month and you say, actually, I had 5 less days of 7 or higher score for my symptoms. So even though it doesn't necessarily feel like it's working, it is a little bit, and that's enough to keep going with it. So that's really important. Number 3 strategy for managing your symptoms is communication. You want to look at how you're communicating to the people around you. Are you able to let them know what your needs are effectively? Are you kind of hiding your symptoms and how you feel because either they don't understand you, or you feel like maybe they won't respond appropriately? A lot of times this can make our symptoms worse because we're not actually seeking out help when we need it, and that can relieve a lot of stress on us. So communication is a big one in terms of especially your immediate support group, using I statements, sharing how you feel, sharing what your needs are, sharing what your treatment looks like and maybe what to expect from your doctor. Any of those things can help, and I go over all those things with my clients and teach them strategies for communicating more effectively, not only with their healthcare professional, but with their support group also. A lot of times chronic illness can affect our relationships with friends and family. So if things come up, we process them, we problem solve, we look at communication, and a lot of times that really helps make things better in the future. So the 3 things that you can do if you're struggling to manage your symptoms: number 1, stress management; number 2, track your symptoms over time; and number 3, work on communication with your support system and your healthcare professionals. Thanks for joining me on Education Tuesday. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them below, and I'll see you next week.